Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast, the official podcast of Football Italia. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima Tavali. On today's show, we will review the midweek Champions League action, a positive week for Serie A in the Champions League. Napoli got their first 3 points of the season in Europe thanks to a double by Rasmus Hojlund against Sporting Lisbon. Juventus were denied at the death by Juve old boy Renato Vega as they drew 2-2 in another thrilling Champions League encounter against Villarreal, with Federico Gatti, of all people, scoring a bicycle kick. Inter made it 2 wins from 2 with a dominant 3-0 win over Slavia Prague, with Lautaro Martinez scoring twice. And Mario Pasalic inspired a late Atalanta comeback win against Club Brugge. We'll also preview the weekend Serie A action. Okay, let's get straight into today's show. So we'll start off with the Wednesday evening matches and the thriller between Villarreal and Juventus. Another thriller in the Champions League for Juve, who are becoming really the team to watch for the neutrals in Europe this season. 4-4 thriller against Borussia Dortmund in match day 1, where they made a late comeback to grab a point. And this time it works against them as Renato Vega equalises in injury time, their Juventus old boy from last season, to grab a 2-2 draw for Villarreal in Spain. Another crazy game to analyse, just like the Dortmund. There are lots and lots of different angles to this game. Well, first of all, again, we saw, Juventus remain unbeaten still this season in all competitions. I wasn't confident going into this game at all. As I said on the preview, Juventus were without their best defender, Bremer, without their best midfielder, Kefren Thuram, and they weren't playing the best in the last few matches. So going away to a team that had won 8 games in a row at home in Villarreal in a really hostile environment, I wasn't confident at all. And when Villarreal took the lead to go 1-0 up, I wasn't confident either. But Juventus showed that kind of spirit that we've seen so far this season. They launched a great comeback to lead 2-1. They had chances to go 3-1 up, and then they gave away such a simple goal, which we'll talk about at the end, to kind of throw away the 2 points. So yes, before the game, I said I would have snapped your hand off for a draw. And I think in normal circumstances, it would have been a good point. But when you're 2-1 up, you're on top, as Juventus were in the second half. They played a really good second half until the end. It's frustrating to only draw this game.
It's a weird game to analyze for many reasons for me. I was concentrating on this game. I rewatched the Napoli game after, but I was focusing on this as it was going on. It was a very, very weird game. Juventus were poor in the first half, especially in the opening 25 minutes. They were woeful. They looked like they were going to be completely steamrolled by a Villarreal that was full of energy, full of aggression, had Juventus's number tactically, and a Juve who defensively throughout the game were woeful. I know Federico Gatti scored a magical overhead kick, but my God in heaven, did he not have a good game defensively overall. But then they made changes in the second half, and Juventus just took the game to Villarreal and really should have won the game. It is 2 points dropped, especially when you take into consideration the miss of the decade by Jonathan David. It is the miss of the decade. It's Gagliardi. It's the Roberto Gagliardini Invitational. This year's winner, Jonathan David. You can't miss. You just cannot miss that. I don't understand how a professional footballer misses that chance. It's like Lukaku against Spezia when he trips over his own feet. Like, I don't understand how a professional footballer can miss a chance like that. It's they have this rule in the NFL that if you miss the following conversion point, you call it in rugby, after you scored a touchdown, you get sacked. There should be something like this in football as well. You cannot miss these chances. It's just it pisses me off because it's like you come on. Like mistakes are fine, but there are levels. This is professional sports. There should be a bare minimum that you have to clear, and that miss by Jonathan David was genuinely atrocious to go to cap off what was an awful night for him.
Yeah, we have to talk about. Well, let's talk about Jonathan David now.
We have to. We
now,
can't pretend
that
here.
you've raised it.
I just want to go on the record before I have a bunch of dickless pricks in my mention crying about how I have some sort of agenda against him. Yeah, I am angry this morning. I think you can tell that.
Yes, I've already listened to Nima's moaning at the start of.
No, I wasn't moaning. I was
before we started the pod.
I was yelling, but for other reasons. But listen, I like Jonathan David. I wanted him to sign him because I think in a two-man attack, I think he's a goal scorer. He's a natural goal scorer. I think he can be really useful, and I think he's been very. I think it's a good signing, and I still think he can come good. But let's not pretend that shit is chocolate or that donkey piss is beer, because so far his Juve career has been awful. It's not been good, and nothing. The symbol of that was that game against Villarreal. I expect Jonathan David. I give him longer period to adjust to Juve, to a new league, to a new system, all of that. I don't think Jonathan David needs special time to not miss a sitter from 2 yards out alone with a net wide open. I'm sorry, this is just not good enough. It's just not good enough. You always talk about Juventus and levels and this, that, and the other. Come on. It doesn't matter who you are.
First half, he was invisible, and we've seen him be invisible too much this season. That's been generally the pattern. What we've seen with David when he has played, he hasn't been involved enough, and even in the box enough. Kind of trying to come out of the box too much when we don't want that from him. In this first half, he was invisible again. The second half, though, he had 2 chances. He hit the bar with a better finish, actually. That was a decent finish because it was from a tough angle, but he didn't put it away. And that would have ended the game. That would have been 3-1, game over. So yeah, I mean, yeah, we need to see more of him. Also because Juventus have 3 strikers here, and I think they're going to have to get rid of one of them in January. They've got one too many there. They're only going to be playing one up front. They're going to persist with this formation of 3-4-2-1, which there has been debate whether they should change the system. So yeah, I mean,
but the problem is that if the thing that's like the conundrum here is, if you play a 3-5-2, which I think maybe Juve as a team and given the strikers they have accommodates them better, even though, as we've spoken, the 3 strikers they've got are so similar that can they even play together? But the thing is, then you sacrifice Francisco Conceição. It's like with Federico Chiesa all over again. If you don't play him wide, you play him centrally. I'm not sure Conceição centrally is the solution. Like Juventus have managed to, by not addressing a problem, create the same problem, but having spent more money in doing so. And that is, again, on the incompetence of the management that you and every Juve fan always talk about. It's that simple.
Yeah, we spoke about this. I spoke about this on Monday's show about Juventus signing players that are incompatible with one another, or stockpiling in certain positions, then having gaps in another position. And I think having 3 strikers and then having Zigrova and Conceição the same play in the same position, that's a perfect example of that. But I mean, if we can,
no, but if they sacrifice and go to 3-5-2, then they sacrifice both Zigrova and Conceição.
Yeah, well, that's my point. Tactically, compatibility between different types of players. I mean, listen, I thought first half Juventus were too easy to be played through on the counter. I actually thought that Juventus controlled the game, possession and territory pretty well in the first half. No, in fact, throughout the whole game. And I thought that actually their high press worked quite well. Even in the first half, they were winning the ball back well, high up. Locatelli, who I thought had a really good game.
He had a very good game.
Made a lot of interceptions, cutting out the ball from the goalkeeper for Villarreal, who had a bad game himself. But Juventus were suffering on the counter, and they were getting sliced open. Actually, Villarreal created 3 big chances in the first half. That's despite Juventus.
And Juventus created zero. I mean,
yeah, well, McKennie had a couple of half chances, but not real chances. Yeah. But then, like you said, the second half, Juventus was straight out of the blocks. Conceição definitely made a massive impact. And great finish for 2-1. He set up a chance for 3-1, and Conceição. This is why I wanted him to stay, because I think he's a wonderful player that makes the difference and ignites the team when he comes on and plays. So
he's an individual quality. Like individually, he has lots of quality. And I think one thing that if we ought to move to the positive before we talk about another negative, which is cup minors, is that Tudor interpreted the game really well, and his in-game his change really threw the game on its head. And then he had a striker who knew how to score tap-ins for open goals. They would have won this game, and it would have been 2 very important points. And that's really positive, because the way that Conceição came on and Juventus will manage to have bite in their attack, something they did not have in the entire first half, was, the 2-1 goal was, yes, it was a mistake from Villarreal, but it's individual brilliance by Conceição, and I really like that player, and I think he's going to be very useful to Juve. But again, my issue is that they have once again recreated the same problems they had before, but they've spent more money in so doing. And this is again why you have a sporting director. This is again why you have someone in charge. Whether it's Milan, we've said it. Whether it's Juve, we say it. Whether it's Inter, we say it. You have to have someone in charge of this tactical formation, with a bird's eye view, who can bring in a coach and bring in players to assist that coach deliver.
Yeah.
This is like ABC. Like, this isn't, we're not splitting atoms here.
I agree. And that's been Juventus's problem for, I would say, over 5 years. This was a problem. This was a problem ever since Paratici took over from Marotta. That's when this all started. This 100%. Whole buying players that don't. There's no synergy between the sporting director buying the players to fit the manager and a formation and team building that way. So yeah, that's where they've gone wrong. But I mean, if we go back to this game in particular, I think let's stay with the positives. Listen, we have to talk about Federico Gatti, because we have to talk about his goal, right? Because
stunning.
If there was one player that you would least expect to score a sensational bicycle kick, who would it be? It would be Federico Gatti, wouldn't it? I mean, it was hilarious. I was just like, my first reaction was, what? What did I just see?
Yeah, that was everyone's reaction, Carlo. Everyone in the world reacted like that. Everyone in the world reacted like that.
I know. Of all the players, Federico Gatti scores that goal. I mean, I laugh about it, but I think everyone has a friend. Anybody that's played football at any level, even if it's Sunday League, Pub League, playing in the park, everyone has a friend who is not the best player.
To be honest, he's shit.
Okay,
then he makes miracle moments.
Shit. They can't chop a bag of cement. They've got no skill or technique.
And then they all of a sudden pull this rabbit out of the hat.
Yeah, all of a sudden they score this ridiculous goal, and you remember it forever because it's so like out of nowhere. And this reminds me of, and I'm not going to name him because he's a lovely guy, and I don't want to be horrible, but when I was a teenager, we had this guy that used to play for us, right? And he was a bit of a, I'm going to be nice with my words just in case he's watching, but let's just say he was, he used to miscontrol. He's
surely a lovely person, but doesn't mean that he's come on. He was probably shit at football. Doesn't mean he's a bad person.
He used to miscontrol the ball. He used to do the most he was a forward. He used to do the most He used to do the most inexplicable misses. He was a big guy. He was clumsy, lanky. And then we were playing this game. It was, I think, quarterfinal of a cup. And it was like 2 minutes from the end in extra time. And this kind of 50-yard ball come over his head. And he's outside the area. And he does this ridiculous bicycle kick into the top corner.
Of course.
And everyone was like, Like no one could believe what they just seen. And that just reminded me, and we're going back like 20 years here, and that reminded me of Gatti's goal. Like, what have I just seen? And
No, it was
then
a beautiful goal. It's the goal of the week, goal of the season, contender in the Champions League. There's no doubt about that. He scores an overhead bicycle kick with fantastic technique.
mad,
Like
isn't it?
it's.
I was just thinking, do you have like? Can you let's go through? I mean, I was just thinking about it. Goals from players that weren't the best or just scored a ridiculous goal, surprising goal. I'm thinking Nigel Winterburn, for all Arsenal fans, Nigel Winterburn, Arsenal against Chelsea, 97,
I know which goal
98.
you mean. Yeah.
Do you know which one I mean? It was a late goal from outside the area, left foot, a top corner from like 35 yards. Arsenal won to win 3-2. Arsenal won 3-2. They won the double that season. Nigel Winterburn was a left back, veteran left back. He never scored. He was just a defender. Didn't have much technique. That one. John Jensen for Denmark against Denmark against Germany in the final of Euro 92.
He scored a magical goal for Arsenal as well. A beautiful. I think it was his only goal for Arsenal, first goal for Arsenal.
After about like nearly 100 games or something, 50 games or something like that. And he was shit for Arsenal, really shit. Yeah. He got the move to Arsenal because of that goal, just because of that goal that he scored against Germany. And then the other one I was thinking of, Mauro Bressan for Fiorentina against Barcelona. It was like a bicycle kick from outside the area.
A bicycle kick.
Volley bicycle kick.
Into like boom.
1998, 99 season, I think, if I remember. It was the season Fiorentina knocked out Arsenal, actually. The Arsenal link in all these goals.
Yeah, those are good ones.
I don't know if you've got any of players that
not shit players, but surprising goals. Fabio Cannavaro scored a goal against Parma, I think it was, in the
from outside the area, wasn't it?
Yeah, into the top corner. I did not see that coming. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Cannavaro shoot the ball before or since. Like, it was just whoa. Fantastic player.
I remember Alessandro Birindelli for Juventus. Just come to me, who scored this like 35-yarder from out of nowhere into the top corner against Deportivo in the Champions League. And that's when Deportivo were really good. And I always remember Paulo Montero's reaction. Paulo Montero went, "Mamma mia!" like that, and he did that because it was Birindelli. He said afterwards, it was Birindelli, and he was like, I think he did a quote after the game. He goes, "I've watched Birindelli in training for like 5 years, and trust me, he's never scored. He's like every single shot that he's ever done has gone like rosette, and then he scored that goal."
Well, yeah, Guarin had a couple of screamers like that as well, but then again, he had a good shot on him. He just didn't have any control of where the ball went. I mean, the ball could literally go outside the stadium and hit the panini selling lady outside in the parking lot, or it could go into the top corner. There was really, kill a bird or top corner. Like those were your options.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great story. And like I said before, I want to give some positives to Juventus. Villarreal have won 8 games in a row for a reason. So for Juventus to come here and be this competitive, I think overall probably a draw was fair if you look at the big chances in this game, I think they were quite even, first half and second half. I think Juventus controlled the game more. They were the better in possession, but Villarreal were always a danger. Pepe was really good, actually. Another ex-Arsenal player, flop at Arsenal. He was causing all kinds of trouble to Cabal. And that brings me on to the negatives. First of all, I said it before kickoff. It was madness starting Cabal in this game. That's why I said in the preview, he's coming back from an ACL. He's only been back for a few weeks. You don't start a player in a game as intense as this in the Champions League. I don't care if you've got players out. And he just wasn't ready. He got destroyed. He was getting destroyed by Pepe in those first 15 minutes. He was also maybe a little bit lucky, that he didn't get a second yellow. And then he pulls his hamstring. So now Juventus have lost a player that they needed. And that's another defender injured now. So, they already don't have the depth. So he should never have started. I have to criticise Tudor, the management, for for starting him in this game. He should not have been starting this game. He should have been building him up slowly. He's only been playing 10, 20-minute matches. He wasn't ready for a game of this magnitude. So that's number one. Number two, defending in general, which I think you touched upon. Juventus is defending.
That equaliser that Gabby Vega scores. I mean, what is Vlahovic and Gatti doing on that goal? I'm sorry, but you expect both of them to be better timing, anticipation, reading of where the ball goes. I think someone tweeted at me, said it looked like Gatti was jumping off a trampoline. He wasn't jumping. He was jumping off a trampoline into a pool. Like, that's how the jump looked. And Vlahovic just completely mistimed it. Now, that's just poor. And I think the fact that Gabby Vega is the one who scores it is not just, ex-player, but it's symptomatic of but Lloyd Kelly is. You see what I'm saying? He's not at Juve, where he actually could have been serviceable, but because they spent their money stupidly elsewhere, that's why he's not at Juve. Because I think he actually would have done much better. He would have started this game for Juve, and I think he would have been much better than both.
Vega was really good at Juventus. I was disappointed that Juventus couldn't sign him. But listen, that they've conceded off a set piece again. I've been going on about this for well over a year now on this pod about Juventus's set piece problem. Their numbers, their set piece numbers last season were near the bottom of Serie A for both conceding goals and for combined with scoring goals, but certainly in particular of conceding off set pieces. It's a problem. It was a huge problem. I thought that Igor Tudor would improve that because the kind of player he was, he was one of the best in the air as a defender. I thought that he would address this, but clearly it's still a problem. I said it in the Inter game. Remember, I said it after Juventus beat Inter in that game. And I said that I run through some of the stats, the aerial stats in that game. And I know Inter are one of the best aerially, but it was really scary, the difference in the stats between aerial challenges won and lost and headers in the area. Like, it was a clinic for Inter in that game. But people didn't really talk about it because Juventus won the game. And I said, look, this continues. Juventus are going to be conceding goals, and they conceded one against Inter. They conceded another one here, and such a simple one. It wasn't anything special. It was just a simple cross into the box, and they score. So they have to address this problem, and they have to. I don't know whether they're going to be, because I don't think the personnel are good enough, but they have to address this problem in defence, because the last 5 games, Juventus has conceded 11 goals. Tudor spoke about this after the game, but you can't be conceding 11 goals in 5 games and think that you're going to have a successful season. So that has to be, they need to look at that. Whether it's, I don't know, maybe I've touched on this. Maybe they need to look at a change of system. Maybe they need to recognise that Gatti plays better in a back 4. Kalulu plays better in a back 4. Yes, Bremer is better in a back 3, but he was actually good in a back 4 under Thiago Motta before his ACL last season. I don't see why he can't adapt. But the other players are better in a back 4. But then the fullback positions are an issue as well. Well, fullback or wing back. Cambiasso can't defend. He's too lackadaisical. He doesn't have the concentration levels. He switches off, and he's not. Cambiasso's from the Di Lorenzo school of defending, of just being too passive and too, let's say fair, to use a want of another word. When it comes to defending, doesn't get tight, do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, and I love that you use legal terms in contract law to describe it as well. The principle of laissez-faire. It's I think you're absolutely right. I don't really have much to add to that other than Cup miners. Subbed off at halftime, disastrous performance. If you want to save Cup miners, if you want to give Juventus more balance, I think a 3-5-2 is the way forward. You need to have that extra man in defense. The problem is Kenan Yildiz has to be the number 10, so it becomes a 3-5-1-1, and then all of a sudden you've killed Conceição because he can't play unless you're going to try and play him as a wing back, like you did with Chiesa. Again, my point about creating the same problem but with new players and less money in the bank.
And
and
what's
same
his
with
name?
Zegrova.
Gonzalez as well.
Yeah, Nico Gonzalez, Zegrova, Chiesa, Conceição. It's Groundhog Day over at Continassa, and it's
I
stupid.
think I would go to a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. I think I
Yeah,
would.
maybe try
Maybe
something new. Yeah,
maybe a 4-2-3-1, because then you can still play Yildiz as the 10. But then you're maybe a little bit too top heavy in attacking. But then, at least you've got more options for your wide players. And like I said before, Openda can actually do a kind of Moise Kean rollouts out wide. But Koop Miner's passing is what was really abysmal in this game. So many basic, unforced passing errors. There was one where he passed the ball straight out of play. Did you see that one in the first half where he had under no pressure whatsoever? No one was even pressing him. He was a pass out to the right hand side and he just passed it straight out of play. And a chance that Villarreal had to go 2-0 up was his fault. He gave the ball away. They counter-attacked, and I think it was the chance on the right, or the one when Perrin saved it. Yeah. So yeah, I said it at the start. Juventus have a battle to qualify here, because they've got 2 points from 2 games. And they've got Real Madrid away in their next game. So I think we can pretty much confidently say they're going to lose that game. So they're going to have 2 points from 3 games. Then they have Sporting Lisbon at home after that, which we're going to come on to now. And Sporting Lisbon did not deserve to lose against Napoli, in my opinion. They're not going to be an easy game either. So yeah, it's going to be. They're going to have to battle to qualify. I don't think it's a guarantee Juventus qualify from this league.
I think it's a guarantee they finish in the top, 24 or whatever. I don't see a problem for them to get into the round or the playoff round. But for them to finish in the top 8, that's going to be difficult.
No, that's gone already. That's gone.
It's not going to happen.
That's gone. Yeah.
But I mean, then again, I'm not as confident that they won't be able to get a result against Real Madrid, because if there's one thing we've noticed is that this Juve thrive because they're a very open team. They thrive against teams that attack them and go after them. And even if you're 2 goals up against this Juve, they can still hurt you and score on you late twice, as we've seen against Inter, we've seen against Borussia Dortmund, and so on. So I think that's going to be a pretty crazy game, if we're perfectly honest.
Yeah. Anyway, listen. Just let's stop here. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube, this is we're now going to talk about the other 3 Champions League games, but that's going to be only for our patrons. So if you want to listen to the rest of the show, where we'll talk about Napoli Sporting, Inter beating Slavia Prague, and also Atalanta winning against the Club Brugge, and previewing the Serie A action and some other talking points in Italian football, then go to patreon.com/TIFP, $3.99 a month. And Nima's going to come here and tell everyone about YouTube memberships. I can see, aren't you? Yes.
No, I was expecting you to forget, but you remembered, so I don't need to. But yeah, YouTube memberships as well. You can watch all our content on YouTube memberships as well.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So let's talk about Napoli now. The important thing is this: Napoli got the win, which they needed. They needed to win this. They've got the 3 points. They're off the mark. The positives are, first of all, Rasmus Hojlund.
De Bruyne and Rasmus Hojlund.
Let's do Rasmus Hojlund first. Yeah. Let's do Rasmus Hojlund, because Rasmus Hojlund joined Napoli from Manchester United this summer. He did not want to leave Manchester United. He was desperate to stay, even after they signed Benjamin Sesko, and after he was basically exiled and not even given a minute, I think, in the final game of the pre-season and then the first games of the season. He still wanted to stay, and he reportedly went to Ruben Amorim and said to him, "I want to stay. I think I'm better than Benjamin Sesko. I believe that in time I'll show to you that I'm better than Benjamin Sesko, and I'll win my place back from him." But Manchester United basically said, "Look, you're not going to play. We want to sell you. Just leave." And that's when Napoli, he decided, okay, I'm just going to have to take this move. It's Antonio Conte. And he's had a mixed start so far. He's had some decent moments and games, and also some less so. But, he scored 2 goals here, 2 crucial goals. I really like the second one. That was a killer goal. But whilst he's started scoring, Sesko's been a disaster for Manchester United. They called him 007 after he went the first 7 games without scoring. And his performances have been really bad and he just doesn't look up to it. I know part of that is down to the Man United thing, but yeah, I mean...
Sesko, Gyökeres, Isak. So far, I mean, talk about the wrong player at the wrong club. Gyökeres should have been at United. Isak should have been at Arsenal. And Sesko should have been at Liverpool, if you ask me. It's so reminiscent of when Mourinho and Conte screwed things up for one another. When Mourinho got Lukaku instead of Morata, and Conte replied by getting Morata instead of Lukaku. Like, it's just... They're great. They're all good players. They're just in the wrong place. Amorim and Gyökeres together at United. Yeah, good idea. Alexander Isak's mobility. I've been banging on for like six years how I really think with Arteta's football, Alexander Isak was born to play in that system. And with Sesko, I think he would have been so good at Liverpool. I really do. And it's just weird. Maybe
and Hojlund, is he at the right club? Hojlund?
I think so. He's not just at the right club. He's under the right manager. He's working for the right manager, and he knows how to utilize a player with those characteristics. And as long as Conte is there, life will be good for Hojlund.
That's not the kind of goal I would have. That's not the kind of goal I would have expected Rasmus Hojlund to score at Manchester United. A cross in, he goes in brave, gets there before. Okay, it's a bit of a goalkeeping error, but he gets there, he wants it, he wins it, shows that desire, and it's a good finish because and a really crucial moment because Napoli were really, after the equaliser, Napoli were really confused and they were struggling badly, and that goal almost comes out of nowhere. It's just, I mean, it's a great cross, it's a great assist from De Bruyne, who got two really good assists in this game, answering back after the issues with Antonio Conte before the game.
And that's the thing I wanted to talk about is Kevin De Bruyne, because as we said on Monday, that's a war he's not going to win. Apparently there was a meeting. Conte, without much fuss, made his stance very clear. They kissed and made up, and there was no problems. And then De Bruyne goes out and is decisive for Napoli. The drive with the ball at his feet before that assist, there was work to do for Hojlund before he scores that goal, but it's still a wonderful transitional goal, and it's a wonderful assist. It's De Bruyne turning back the years. Okay, it's not as quick as he once was, but still driving the ball forward at his feet, perfect timing pass, vintage De Bruyne. And then, of course, the cross for Hojlund, which is just like that. That's he can do that all day long if you don't put pressure on him. And it was important for him. It was important for Napoli to end. Like, look, football is very organic. It's also how you come out of crises, in quote unquote crises. When there is a problem, if you resolve them and you're immediate, nothing forgives and erases everything else, like coming back from a bad situation and a loss by winning, maybe a bit ugly and undeserved, but winning nonetheless. And the person the manager or whatever disgruntled employee situation you've had is resolved by you being decisive. That creates character, that creates belief in the work they're doing, and that makes the group tighter as well. And that's how Conte operates. So I think this is just really, really good for Napoli, and it was a very, very important win for them.
Yeah, De Bruyne showed that even if, and I've seen him trying to sprint and run, De Bruyne doesn't. You could tell those legs are getting heavier, shall we say? I'm not going to say gone, but I'm going to say they're heavier. He's carrying them a bit when he runs. He's dragging them along with him. You can see, and he's still got those. He can still produce those moments of quality, which at the top level in these kind of games
can be decisive.
Be decisive. So that's important. But if we're going to look at the kind of bigger picture, and this was a very big talking point ahead of the game in Naples. I've seen a lot of videos of Napoli fans, being interviewed on the streets about this. And I've even seen some Napoli fans saying, De Bruyne, let's get rid of him. Let's stop playing him. He's inhibiting McTominay.
That's a bit exaggerated.
I mean,
I think that's a bit exaggerated, to be honest.
I'm just saying what some of the
I know, I've
Napoli
seen
fans
that,
say.
and I think that's exaggerated.
But I think that there's definitely a tactical issue, which to be fair, Antonio Conte spoke about after the game, and he said, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to persist. We're putting McTominay onto the left, but he also said, but we've got other options. So he's not closing the door that at some point, if this doesn't start to get better, he might drop one of them or not play them together, because at the moment, the dynamic of the Napoli team, it's not quite working, and it's making the team, I think, a little bit sterile and a little bit predictable, and lacking that depth in behind, and stretching the opponents.
Agreed.
And that was definitely shown in this game, because the first half, Napoli were in total control, totally dominated the ball possession and totally dominated the play in terms of being in control of the game. Sporting created nothing. They never looked like conceded. Second half, Sporting did create big chances, but throughout, Napoli's chance creation was 0.8 xG in this game, despite being the bosses in the first half. The chance creation wasn't good in this game. It looked like tactically there was an issue there. So I think this is something Conte is going to have to address, because.
And I think he's aware of it. Before, he would just, stubbornly push on. But now that he has actual options and he's got quality options, I still think Neres is the key. He will utilize Neres moving on. I think he just wants to give these guys a 5-10 game run out after having worked on this system in the preseason to kind of cement what he wants to do. And then I think he'll start rotating, even if it works. Because I think this is a new and improved Antonio Conte. He likes to change things around, and he likes to have different tactical options expressing the same football. And I think David Neres is the key to that, 100%. But just one final point I want to make. I hope Lorenzo Luca was watching how Rasmus Hojlund played, because that is what Conte wants him to do. Just study how Rasmus Hojlund played in this game. That's what Antonio Conte wants you to do. And Luca has the same characteristics as Hojlund. And there's nothing to suggest that he can't play like that. I would even argue that Lorenzo Luca is much more better technically than Rasmus Hojlund. The Wondergoal we saw last week, case in point. So I think it's, there are not cracks, but there are bumps, but they're smoothing them out.
Yeah, I think the point you make about the options is good, is an important one, because I think that is a weapon for Napoli, that if a certain way of playing or certain players aren't performing, they have that depth and they have those options, and they can change. And this is where Conte's improved. They can change tactically. Like, they brought on 2 wingers in the closing stages of this game in Noah Lang and Neres to change the way of playing, because they weren't creating anything. And
you needed to stretch the pitch.
You needed to stretch the pitch. And I'm not saying it particularly worked that well, but they've got players to come on and change things and find that solution to whatever problem is there. So I think that's important. But they didn't look good. They didn't react well at all to the. I know they got the second goal, but when it went 1-1, they looked confused. They looked nervy. They were making basic passing errors. They made mistakes. Politano, really stupid penalty conceded. Yeah. Really, but
I want to talk about that penalty. I have yet to see an image that shows that there's contact between them. I mean, if there is a contact, it's a no-brainer. It's a penalty. But I did not. Maybe it was the broadcaster I was watching didn't show it. I did not see contact. What I saw was a dive. I saw a dive.
Yeah. Yeah, still stupid. The point I'm making.
To go in like
stupid
that,
for him to throw and dive himself in there.
Yeah. Contact. Maybe if someone's got listening to this or watching this on YouTube has an image of the contact, please do share it, because I saw it from 3-4 different angles. I did not see any conclusive contact. To me, it looked like a dive.
Yeah, well, maybe, but Sporting had a big chance to make it 2-1 just before Napoli scored, and then at the end, Milinkovic-Savic made a fantastic say
he should start. Can we address this now? Vanja Milinkovic-Savic is a much better goalkeeper than Alex Meret. I'm sorry, but he is. He needs to start. Alex Meret is not good enough to be the starting goalkeeper for a Napoli that wants to win the Scudetto year in year. I'm sorry, I just don't think he is. I've never thought it. Yes, I know with Spalletti he was outstanding, but that was like you can't tell me that Milinkovic-Savic is a qualitatively not an improvement on Meret. He just is. He's better with the ball at his feet. He's better command at the area. He's a fantastic penalty saver. He's a better, communicator with the defense. He's got more character. Yeah, no, for me, just start Milinkovic-Savic. And if anyone has the balls to do that, it's Conte.
Yeah, agreed. Inter, comfortable, dominant win from Inter again. They're in really good form now since that Juventus game. They're very, very commanding in their performances. Not against a good team, no, let's be honest. But very, very positive. Lots of positive individual performances. Lautaro scores twice, back-to-back now. Thuram, as I've said, getting back to his best this season. Great assist for Dumfries. Dumfries, still that goal machine from right wing back. And the one that really surprised me the most was Acerbi was like going on these runs like up the pitch. Like, what's going on? Gatti scores a bicycle kick. And then Acerbi at the age of, 37 now? Like, was going on coast to coast Teo Hernandez like runs. Like, it was just...
That entire move for Inter's second goal where Acerbi goes on this Lucio-esque run, but then threads the ball like he's Mesut Ozil. Did not have that on my bingo card. I did not see that coming. But then again, we know that Acerbi likes to push forward. He's done it his entire career under Inzaghi at Lazio, at Inter. So he likes to do those runs, even though he's 37. I just have to say, all of Inter look physically much more fresher than they did all of last season. It looks like as if last season, whatever hangover they had last season is no longer there. They look like they've done in previous seasons, if we, disregard last season. And that's a positive for Inter. But speaking on that, from a negative angle, is Marcus Thuram's health. He's injured again. He's going to be out a month.
Oh, I thought
no,
after the game,
he's out.
I thought they said after the game it was nothing.
Yeah, after the game they said that, but then yesterday we heard the news that he has I think it was a hamstring or thigh injury or something like that.
I didn't know injury. That.
Yeah, and he's going to be out a month. This is now becoming a problem. This means that now Pio Esposito has to start, or Boni has to start. Like, one of them has to start. And Lautaro basically has to start every single game. Now the tough questions are beginning to be asked. I mean,
now we see Pio Esposito just, he's going to get a run of games.
Boni as well, because he's the most natural replacement to Thuram in terms of player for player, characteristic for characteristic. But Lautaro, it's good that Lautaro, because he's a patchy goal scorer, and now he's scored 2 goals in a row. That's good, because Inter going to need him for the next month, pretty much every game. And so, I think he's going to alternate between Pio Esposito and Boni, which I think is the right decision. I don't think he's going to bench Lautaro, especially when he's in this goal form. And Lautaro looks much more fitter as well. All of Inter looked much more fitter and healthier, like I said, this season compared to last season. It's like I said, as if last season, if we disregard last season, they look like they have done all these years physically. So that's a positive thing.
Bastani did a nutmeg, one of the nutmegs of the season as well, which I loved. Yeah. I had to highlight that.
Yeah. No, look, and Denzel Dumfries scored after a wonderful team move, where you saw how important someone like Marcus Thuram is, his ability to,
But he was man of the match again. He's been man of the match in both Champions League games. He's been really
good. Play the ball in at the right time. Now Inter are going to miss him, and yes, it was a controlled, cool, calm performance. I think finally Inter's woes of not being able to create chances from open play have been we can put that aside. But the questions now begin to ask, because now the injury has come to Thuram. He's going to be out for about 3 to 4 weeks. There's a tough run-in coming in after the international break. First,
a good time to get injured, though, because 2 of those 3 weeks are going to be international break.
Yeah, and he doesn't play for France. Exactly.
And it's Cremonese.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. Cremonese at the San Siro, we've seen what they can do, and they're not an easy game. They're not an easy side this season. They're very informed. They're very tight defensively. So, questions are going to be asked now of Inter. Can they, to show what the metal they're made of, starting with Cremonese, and then, of course, they got Roma and other games in the Champions League as well. But it's important to have one final point on the positives. It's important to have won the first 2 must-win games without much fuss, without any drama, scoring 5 times, not conceding anything. That's really important. And that'll create confidence and belief for Inter. Again, they created a gajillion chances, but weren't able to convert even half of them. But look, it's okay. It doesn't matter. They won 5-0 goal difference. They got 6 points. Other teams are dropping points. It's important to keep this momentum going and win these 4 opening games to have that 12 points. And then you can kind of go into these last 4 tough games with that in the bag and manage those games better. That's the job that Kiva will have to do. But
I think Inter are going to get top 8 again.
I hope so.
They're going to get 12 points. Sure. I think the 12 points are virtually guaranteed, and then you've got to get 4 points from 4 games. And Dortmund are one of those who I'm not particularly. I'm not big on Dortmund either. So I think Inter are going to get. I think Inter are going to be in the top 8 again. I do. It's looking better for Kiwi now. 4 wins in a row, all comps.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because since that Juventus
looking better as well, he looks like
since that Juventus loss, Juventus have drawn 4 games in all comps, and Inter have won all their 4.
Yeah.
Granted, Juventus have had more difficult opposition than Inter have had, but still, it's 4.
But that reflects that game. People that watch that game could see you've got a result and you've got the game itself, and that, like I said, it's not sustainable. Results are not sustainable, but performances turn into results. Anyway, Atalanta, they were knocked out by Club Brugge in this competition last year, so they got a bit of revenge here by coming from behind to win 2-1. Crucial victory for them, because if they hadn't have won this, then they could have been struggling potentially to qualify, and they were staring at a second straight defeat going towards the last quarter of the game, and then they managed to turn it around with a goal from the penalty spot from Samardzic, and then Pasalic the winner. So Pasalic was decisive. He won the penalty for the first goal, scored the winner. It was the subs, though, that really changed this game for Atalanta. Because first half, Atalanta were really poor. They created nothing at all in the first half. But second half, they created loads of chances in the second half. In fact, I'll tell you, 0.45 XG in the first half, no big chances. Second half, 2.54 XG. Okay, that included a penalty, but still very high XG for the second half. And I think it's the subs that change it. Sulemana and Samardzic in particular, they come on, and Samardzic scored the first. Sulemana I think got the assist for the second, and was really, really lively. And I think Samardzic also got the cross, didn't he, for the winner that was flicked on by Sulemana. So, those 2 players, those players changed the match, Nima.
They did. They absolutely did. And it's important, like you said, that even though Club Brugge becoming this kind of bogey team for them, they go a goal down, but they're able to react, and they're able to turn the game around. And it was a really important win, fundamentally important for them. And it's interesting because if you look at it this season, they've drawn unnecessarily to Parma and Pisa, but they've lost just 1 game, and that is to PSG. And they've had some, they drew Juve. Now they have a little bit of an easier run in after they got Como. It's not easy at all, but then after the international break they got Lazio, who we don't know. I think the biggest unknown team in the Serie A is Lazio. You never know what you're going to get. And then they have Slavia Prague and Cremonese, and then they have then it kind of goes to Milan and Udinese and so on, and Marseille, which again, talk about not knowing what they've got, but it looks a little bit more balanced going forward. And it was an important win. I liked Atalanta. Things are starting to come together. That's the feeling I get when I watch Atalanta. The things are starting.
I didn't like
together.
Kristovic in this game. He didn't look at the level.
He looked at like a fish in water, didn't he?
Yeah. But I think he's been quite decent in Serie A, but Champions League is another ball
level.
game. Yeah, another ball game. Ahanor, I thought, was pretty good again. He became the youngest ever Italian to start in a Champions League match, 17 years old. Kamada is the youngest ever to play, but Kamada came on as a substitute. Honest Ahanor, who started at the back, is the youngest. Kusanu went off injured, I think, didn't he, in this game? So they've got a lot of injuries at the back, have Atalanta. So that gives Ahanor the opportunity to get a run of games, and that's good. This is what we want to see, and we want to see more. And the only other negative I want to give, in addition to Kristovic, is Derun. Derun is starting to become really old and a liability. He's making a lot of mistakes. He made an error here for the goal, and against Juventus, he was poor. He got sent off. But I've noticed he's never been the quickest guy, but I've noticed he's been getting roasted, really roasted, quite a lot this season.
Time waits for no man.
This year, he's been starting to get really exposed. When if you have Derun in open space, his legs, he ain't got the legs no more.
Mm-hmm. No, he doesn't. But I think one of the most important things is that Ederson was back. Okay, he got subbed off, but he needs, to get him into form. I think the key is Ederson here for all of Atalanta. They need to get him.
Lookman was back. Lookman had his first start. I thought he did decently, considering he's barely played. I thought he was
barely trained.
Yeah, barely trained. Barely been in Italy.
Been sulking for 3-4 months.
He had a deflected shot that was saved. He played just over an hour, but I mean, it was when he came off that they really sort of turned the game. But I thought if you looked at how his performance, I think, build him up, and I think hopefully, if he's got his head in the right place, that the crowd didn't boo him or anything. So hopefully for Atalanta's sake, they can get him playing.
And I like this Bernasconi as well. I thought he was decent as well.
You thought so? Yeah.
Let's
see a little bit more. He takes the set pieces. Crossing and everything. Yeah.
One last player I want to see more from is Brescianini. I don't understand if he's going to, what the purpose of him is. They might as well just sell him in January if he's going to be like this. This is just a waste of time. Because Gasperini found a role for him. He's got no role at all under Juric. So there is that. We'll see what happens there. But other than that, no, it was an important win for Atalanta. It was important to get 3 of the points on the board now. And it's above all, it's starting to look like things are coming together under Juric.
Yeah, which makes you happy, doesn't it, Nima?
It really does. It really does.
Yeah. Okay, right.
And just a final point, all 3, out of 4 Champions League sides, 3 won, 1 draw. Now we're hoping Roma, Bologna, and Fiorentina do the job for the coefficient points. So Serie A get 5 places the next season of Champions League.
That's
what we're hoping for.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see how they do on Thursday. But it was a good week for the Champions League week for the Italian clubs. Right, let's preview the Serie A action this weekend. Starting off with Juventus versus Milan, and then we'll talk about the other games. So this is the big match of the weekend. Sunday, the 6th of October, at the Allianz Stadium in Turin. Big game more so for Juventus, but also for Milan, who are in great form. I'll go through the team news first. So Juventus, Miretti out, Milik out, Cabal definitely out after his injury. And then we need to see the status of Bruyne and Kefren Thuram after they were injured for the match against Villarreal. As for Milan, they have Estupinan suspended. Yashari is still out as well. And then they have to see the status of Tomori, who picked up an injury in the win against Napoli. Let's see how he recovers. We're recording this on Thursday, how he recovers in the next hours and days. Rafael Leao, though, is back, of course, from injury. He came on as a sub in the game against Napoli and created one of the best images I've seen for a long time. Did you see that image where there's 7 Napoli players chasing him on that run? And
that was hilarious.
There's a still of
Felt
it.
like a school child running away from bullies.
It was brilliant, wasn't it? What an image! It what that reminded me of? Reminded me of the image of Diego Maradona against Belgium in the 1986 World Cup, where he's like, it's like he's facing forward, and then there's just like 5, 6 Belgian players all in front of him. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, so we'll see with that. Probable 11s. So I think Milan. I'll do Milan first because I think that's much easier to predict. So it will be Maignan in goal, and then if Tomori's fit, it'll be Tomori, Gabbia, Pavlovic. If Tomori's not fit, it will be De Winter instead of Tomori. Then the wing backs, it will be Bartizaghi coming in for Estupinan, Salamakers on the right, and then the midfield 3 will be Rabiot, Modric, and Fofana. And then in attack, it will be Pulisic and either Jimenez or Leao. So we have to see whether Leao starts or whether he uses him. Allegri uses him as a sub again. That's the question. So those are the doubts. That is really the only 2 doubts. Really are: does Leao start? Is Tomori fit to play? So I think it's pretty simple for Milan. For Juventus, some more question marks. First of all, in goal, does Di Gregorio start again, or do they stick with Perin after Perin started in the Champions League game? That's open for debate. In defence, I think if Bremer's fit, I think it will be Gatti, Bremer, and Kelly, which would push Kalulu to right wing back. With Cambiasso left wing back. Remember, Cabal is not an option now. And João Mario, again, wasn't particularly good. And then centre midfield, if Thuram's fit, it'll be Locatelli and Thuram. If Thuram is not fit, it'll be Locatelli and Koopmeiners or Locatelli and McKennie. And then for the 2 behind the 1, I think Conceição has to start after that substitute performance. With Yildiz, of course. And then there's the debate: who starts an attack? Is it David again? Is it Vlahovic? Is it Openda? I mean, it's impossible to predict right now. We don't know because no one's making that shirt their own at the moment.
Yeah, it's like that Mourinho quote at Fenerbahce, throwing 10 coins in the air and whichever lands on the table with Vlahovic. Vlahovic, David, and Openda, just, whichever, throw them in the air.
Yeah. As for form, as we've said, Juventus 4 draws in a row going into this game in all competitions, having won the first 3 games of the season before that. And as for Milan, they're in great form. They lost their first game of the season to Cremonese, but they've won 5 in a row in all competitions, 4 in Serie A and also Coppa Italia. So Milan coming into this game in a lot of high confidence, and the likes of Modric and Pulisic in particular playing really well, and defense really tightened up as opposed to Juventus' defense, which has conceded 11 goals in 5 games. So there's definitely a difference between the 2 teams there. As for the odds, very tight, not much between them. Juventus 13-8 to win, Milan 17-10, and the draw 21-10, so just over 2-1. So that's all that's all the main stuff out the way. Now we can discuss the game. I think it's a game Juventus really need to win this. They need to get a win. They need to get back on track here.
They do. They need a win like the one they got against Inter, and they need a game where they actually, unlike the Inter game, which I think what you said at the time was very correct in that they didn't really create that much. It was more like chances and long shots and goalkeeping mistakes. I think Juventus need to get something, need to continue on the path of creating chances and scoring. I think that's the key. And also, Juric has to do Tudor has to do something about the defense. It's leaky. Thiago, it's Juventus like under Thiago Motta, but the difference is that here it's not sterile. It's actually pretty free flowing. And it's
exciting for the neutrals to watch.
Yeah, it's eventful. When Juventus play, it's eventful. I mean, and it's I think that's what they need. But they're going up against the manager who, I mean, if there ever was a manager who you don't want to playing with these problems that you've got, it's Allegri. I mean, it feels like Allegri is just gonna shithouse this game. He's going back to.
They're going to play how Villarreal played, aren't they? It's going to be similar. Let Juventus have the ball and pick your moments.
Yeah, and Leao is hopefully going to start because he's going to be, hopefully we can see him start and see him gain to form, and it's going to be interesting to see how Juventus handle Rafael Leao and how do they handle Luka Modric. I mean, he's been so good defensively, not just going forward but also defensively. This role, this regista role, which he's interpreting perfectly, something that people forget he kind of did as well, has done at earlier stages of his career. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle him. It's going to be interesting to see Rabiot, who I think Juventus should never have let go in the first place.
Well, I'm not. I mean, I think it's good you brought up Rabiot because I said this towards the end of the summer when Rabiot had that fight with Jonathan Rowe, and it was clear that Marseille were going to sell both of the players, and he was available for a cut price. Okay, salary is reasonably high for Serie A standards, but he was going to be available for like 15 million euros or something like that. And I said towards the end of the summer, I think we both identified that Juventus don't have depth at centre midfield.
No.
It's basically Kefren Thuram's out, and then you're in trouble. And that they needed to go out and sign another central midfielder. I think that was pretty clear. Juventus needed another central midfielder. There's talk already that they're going to look to address that in January. So that they're a man short at centre midfield, and not just a man short, but probably like a good midfielder, like someone that can play, that can start, not just a backup. And when Rabiot was available for 15 million, I think I said at the time, I said, look, I've never been Rabiot's biggest fan. I wasn't that unhappy about him leaving. But given the circumstances that Juventus in, for 15 million, I would have signed him. And he was offered. I think he was offered to Chiellini. Chiellini received a phone call from Rabiot himself saying, look, I'm available. Do you want to buy me? And Juventus declined that opportunity. Now, I think that was a mistake. I think Juventus really could have done with him this season.
No, I agree. For me, I think it's about players that will function in systems and give you some sort of sense of security. And I think Rabiot gives you that. He gives you a lowest level that is pretty high. And he's not the sexiest player in the world, but he does the job. And I think it was a mistake by letting him leave. Whether they bought him for 15 million or not, it was. I think they should have extended his contract. I think he was not the problem of Juve's midfield, and I think he's a calming influence with experience in that midfield. And now he's doing it for Milan. Well, as we say in Sweden, den enes död, den andres bröd. The death of one is bread for the other. Like, I mean, they made a mistake and let him go, and now Rabiot's back in the Serie A doing it for Allegri again at Milan. So it feels a little bit written in the stars if players like Kalulu and Rabiot have some sort of a decisive impact on this game. And of course, the Allegri returning to to the Allianz, and how is he going to be met by the Juve fans, and the way that he was.
Will he tear off his jacket? Will he tear off his jacket?
Oh,
like he did
the jacket's flying. If Milan are in the jacket is flying.
Did you see him? Did you see him kick the ball?
Yes, I did.
That was a great connection.
Good kick.
I tell you what. If anybody that ever watched Allegri play, he had one hell of a fantastic connection on it when he's take his long shot. Great long range shooter, Allegri. Allegri was the complete opposite that he is as a manager. He was a maverick. He was a maverick of a player. He was an attacking midfielder, kind of free role, sort of like unorthodox, like not a system based player, fantastic player. Whereas the manager is completely opposite.
I have a theory about how managers are the complete difference of what they were as players.
It happens a lot. It happens. It does happen a lot. Capello wasn't really a fantasy player, but he was, again, sort of like you get a lot of players that are managers that end up being different to what they were when they were players. Yeah. Rest of the fixtures in Serie A this weekend. So we have, if I can just get the list of fixtures up. So Hellas Verona versus Sassuolo on Friday. Lazio Torino, Parma, Lecce, and Inter Cremonese and Atalanta Como on Saturday. 4 games on Saturday. Then we have Udinese Cagliari, Bologna Pisa, Fiorentina, Roma, Napoli, Genoa, and the Juventus Milan game.
But Fiorentina Roma, we've already talked about Juve Milan, but Fiorentina Roma feels like a very interesting game for many reasons. Decisive, perhaps, for Pioli if he doesn't get a result, but also Roma, can they continue to this Gasperini that we've seen, who's very trying to, very organized defensively and try to hurt and capitalize on mistakes? Do we see more of that? And also, given can Roma continue this run and move into the international break on par with the teams at the very, very top? This after a midweek game in the Europa League again. Like it's a very interesting game. I'm really
for sure. There's a number of managers. Well, there's another manager also that's in last chance saloon, and that is Marco Baroni at Torino. There's a possibility, as we're recording, he might not even make it to that game. He might be sacked before then. But if he does survive, this will be his last chance. If he gets a bad result in this, he will be sacked. That's pretty much confirmed. That they're already looking at other potential managers. They're looking, I think, at Palladino. They're looking at Dionisi. They're looking at.
Oh God, no! Dionisi would be out of the frying pan and into the fire.
Well, they're looking at him. They're looking at. But I do find
the glasses and look elsewhere.
Yeah, I do find it. I do find it kind of ironic, though, poetic.
That Lazio
were the team that could be his last game on the bench.
Yeah, and of course we all will watch Parma Lecce, because that's
Parma got their first win, didn't they, the other day?
They did,
and played well. Actually, Parma have been playing better. The last few games, Parma have played well. Honestly, they played well. They haven't been playing. They haven't been playing the best teams, so that needs to be taken into account. But they have been playing well. But again, they're so reliant on Pellegrino. I feel like Parma are a Pellegrino injury away from just never winning again. like that's what I feel. Like they're so reliant on him. He's so good. I think he's gonna move to a bigger club next. I'm not saying one of the top clubs. But
but one higher up the table. Parma Lecce is really interesting for the relegation battle. And then Verona Sassuolo is a hipster derby. I mean, you have Grosso against Zanetti, so that's going to be very interesting to see as well. And of course, Udinese Cagliari, who I feel like both of them are a little bit very up and down. It's going to be
and Atalanta Como. I'm not sure if you just mentioned that, but yeah.
No, I did, but that's going to be key for Atalanta. That's going to be very interesting to see. Juric against Fabregas is a very interesting battle. And Genoa are playing Napoli, and Patrick Vieira is in trouble.
Yes, that was the other one I was going to say. He's the other manager. Him and Di Francesco. Those are the two that to keep an eye on.
What a shocker that Di Francesco's in trouble. Who would have seen that coming?
Who do you hire when you want to get relegated from Serie A? Let's hire Di Francesco. The bottom
If
of the
Filippo
table.
Inzaghi is the Serie B promotion specialist, Eusebio Di Francesco.
The one thing about Di Francesco is he seems to always get like a long run. Like he never gets like sacked quickly. He always they always seem to keep him for ages before they sack him. Yeah. Let's leave it at that anyway. Right. So that's everything for today's show. We will be back on Monday for review of the weekend and Q&A, and also look ahead to Italy's game, we'll see, in the World Cup qualifiers, where it will probably be confirmed, not mathematically, but virtually, that they're going to be going to a World Cup playoffs.
Indeed.
Which seems...
We'll see.
Almost for certain. Okay, right. Let's leave it at that. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Have a great weekend. Ciao, ciao.